Let's give a round of applause for Islam.
Israel Adesanya was in attendance at the RAC Arena in Perth as his teammate Alexander Volkanovski made a double champ bid against Islam Makhachev in the main event at UFC 284. Adesanya was holding his other teammate Dan Hooker's hand as Bruce Buffer read out the scores after the crazy five-rounder. While the hangman had already started laughing, Adesanya seemed anxious. The last Stylebender's fears came true as Makhachev was announced the winner via unanimous decision. Adesanya sat with his hands held in his face in disbelief as his eyes seemingly watered up. Islam Makhachev claims he's not just a champion, he's the best fighter in the world. Islam Makhachev believes he's left with no doubt who is mixed martial arts pound-for-pound #1 fighter. The UFC lightweight champion successfully defended his title against featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski in Saturday's UFC 284 main event, earning a unanimous decision win in a back-and-forth battle. With the victory, Makhachev handed Volkanovski his first UFC loss, snapped the Australian star's 22-fight winning streak, and extended his own UFC best win streak to 12. He also emerged as the winner of a matchup that was billed by the promotion as the top two pound-for-pound fighters in the world colliding. At the evening's post-fight press conference, Makhachev told the media that beating Volkanovski makes him the clear-cut best in the world. "It doesn't matter how I won today. Now I'm not just champion, I'm the best fighter in the world," Makhachev said. Listen closely.
Doesn't matter how I won today, and now I'm not just champion, I'm best fighter in the world, and you know I am very happy.
Alex
Now
was-
people gonna call me not just champ, best fighter in the world. This is my dream, and doesn't matter how I won.
Alexander Volkanovski shares what he said to Makhachev during the fight. Volkanovski came up short in his quest to wrest the lightweight belt from Makhachev and become a UFC double champion. But the Australian put on one of the greatest losing performances in recent history as he took Islam to the brink. Throughout the fight, Volkanovski not only put on a strong performance, but also dispensed regular commentary into Makhachev's ears, particularly when the Russian was controlling the action on the mat in the fourth round. So what exactly did the Australian say? "Look again, when you're in positions like that, I'm not being disrespectful," said Volkanovski. "It's getting in his head, you know what I mean? Even when he had me, I was like going, well, you're not that strong." Let's hear it from the man himself.
Look, again, when you're in positions like that, I'm not being a dick, I'm not being disrespectful, but, you know, it's getting his head, you know what I mean? Like, even when he had me, I'm like going, "Oh, you're not that strong." Like, I'll say stuff like that, and then he's there, I'm going, "What, you're just hanging on?" I'll go, "You said 15 seconds, I'm gonna, you know, you're gonna drag me deep waters," you know, that type of stuff. I remember that stuff. It's like, "Oh, you was hanging on for dear life." So it's just stuff like, again, I'm not being disrespectful. He's still in a good position, so it's up to me to get out of there. But I'm gonna get in his head and just kept punching him in the head, saying, like, you know, like, yeah. Again, I guess a body lock is a dominant position, so the refs can't just leave him though he was just hanging on trying to hide his head. But yeah, so just let him know as I go on. Yeah, look at you, like, you know, just trying to survive in certain positions. So that was all I was saying.
And of course, it didn't take long after Alexander Volkanovski's loss to Islam Makhachev for the UFC's featherweight champion to watch the fight and score things himself and even call out Islam for a rematch. Before we continue, don't forget to visit our website and subscribe to our free newsletter so you can stay up to date with everything that goes on in the world of the UFC in minutes. Click the information link above. And while you are at it, check out our podcast and social media accounts. Thank you for your support. Now let's get back to the news. Dan Hooker calls Islam Makhachev a cheating dog and accuses him of using IV to rehydrate for UFC 284 fight. Dan Hooker seems to be accusing Islam Makhachev of cheating following the Dagestani's big win over Alexander Volkanovski at UFC 284. Makhachev looked terrible when he stepped on the scale to make 155 pounds for his title fight against Volkanovski. fighters have to hydrate without the help of an IV bag full of fluids, but Hooker claims Islam broke the rules and got one anyway. Dumb thinks he can fly to Australia, hire a nurse to give him an IV, and we won't find out, Hooker wrote on Twitter. Cheating dog. USADA doing all, he wrote in another tweet, referencing an article from back when the IV ban was added. If Dan Hooker has found proof that Makhachev's team hired a nurse to administer an IV, that's pretty damning evidence already. Except, maybe he hasn't. In a follow-up tweet, he seemed to imply he might not have proof. Prove me wrong, he wrote instead. Betcha can't. Is Dan Hooker right? Why hasn't Dana and the UFC replied to these allegations? Islam Makhachev responds to Nate Diaz's UFC 284 scorecard. Minutes after Islam had his lightweight belt wrapped around his waist, none other than the famed dispenser of the Stockton slap, Nathan Diaz, took to Twitter to announce his verdict on the Russian's performance. Yeah, right, Islam got his ass whooped, tweeted Diaz. The former UFC welterweight also passed on his felicitations to, in his opinion, the victor of the fight. Islam, of course, reacted to Nate's latest shot across the bow. Listen closely.
Honestly, I don't want to talk about this guy. He's I don't know what he said. Maybe he smoked something and watched the fight.
Islam and his former coach Khabib have had a long-running beef with Nate, which escalated in 2019 during a run-in at UFC 239. Jake Paul talks about signing Francis Ngannou to MVP Promotions. Jake Paul recently shared his thoughts on signing former UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou to his most valuable promotions. Following unsuccessful negotiations with the UFC, Francis Ngannou has departed from the promotion and is now considering trying his hand at the sweet science. He has expressed interest in facing off against some of the biggest boxers, such as Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, and Anthony Joshua, but has yet to find a promoter. In a recent interview with TMZ Sports, Jake Paul mentioned that he had discussed the possibility of signing the Cameroonian heavyweight boxer to his promotion, the Most Valuable Promotions. Paul asserted that they would be able to provide more value to the fighter if he were to join their company. Take a listen.
We have talked. Yeah.
Give me something, Jake. Come on, buddy. Let's go.
So, yeah, no. The Most Valuable Promotions team, we talked to Francis, and we think we can do a great job for him, you know, and we share the same vision on a lot of things, and so hopefully Francis sees that as well. But regardless, we're going to always be there to support him, and on the MMA side of things, we're working on something too. So Francis is a great guy, and I think there's a lot of opportunities.
That's all for today's video. If you want to know the latest UFC news, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell, and click the like button so you don't miss any details about the upcoming fights. Thanks for watching. See you soon.